You.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. You are live. This is the Feel Inspired podcast. My name is Amit Sodha. I'm an expert dating coach. And welcome if this is your first time ever joining us on a Facebook Live for the Feel Inspired podcast, or if you're listening to the replay, welcome and thank you for joining us. My podcast is all about inspiring people. And recently, I've been speaking a lot about dating and relationships and helping people on their journey because we know what a minefield dating can be in this day and age. And I think, if anything, over the last 2 years, it's gotten even harder. There's a very much them and us type of culture going on, which is making dating harder for so many people. And I want to make it easier for you. And so I've invited a whole host of experts. And today's one I'm so excited to bring you because when I first heard about your service and I saw your pictures, I was like, wow, I was like, I think you could even make me look good. And I'm not very photogenic. I genuinely am not. And but I see the work you've done on people, and I can imagine that they also probably felt the same way. So we'll delve into that in a moment, but first off, I would like to welcome my guest today, who is Saskia Nelson, and she runs a company called Hey Saturday. And it was actually one of my coaching clients who first told me about you, Saskia. But I'd love
Oh,
for you to tell everyone about your story, like why you started doing this. Like, what was the reason you decided to get into dating profile pictures specifically, and you've become an expert at it? So, how did it all begin for you? How did you get into this line of work? And yeah, where did it all begin?
well, thank you for having me. It's really nice to be here. Um, yeah, I mean, I basically did online dating for about 9 years on and off. So I had a lot of experience of looking at dating profile pictures. And I dated a lot of people in that time, and I had a lot of fun. So I was kind of, and I was just enjoying being on the apps and things and having a look round. But one of the things I wasn't really enjoying was looking at the photos. So, obviously I'm a visual person and I'm a creative, but I think we live in a visual world. So lots of people are visual people. What I found was that, like with everything else I was doing online, I was able to look at really beautiful imagery. So I'd go shopping. Like when I'm shopping online, I choose shops with beautiful photos. Or when I was looking at blogs, I'd always choose the blogs with really nice photos. If I saw a blog with poor quality photos, I was like, nope, that does not appeal to me at all. And no matter what the subject or how well it was written, I wasn't interested. So I think I found, like, when I was looking at people's profile pictures, I was kind of quite disappointed that my kind of visual experience was, when I was looking at dating apps, was really not that great at all. And in fact, finding someone that I wanted to spend my life with was one of the most important things that I wanted to do with my life. So I was really struggling with that mismatch. And at the time, I was working at Sky TV in the comms department. And what I learned while I was there is the power of the image, basically. So when you look at an advert from Sky TV, and we're not giving them free adverts, but seriously, they know how to do a good advert. So you see one on the tube, and what they do is they'll select like one really powerful, strong, bold, colorful, vibrant image. And then they'll have like three words, like, I don't know, believe in better or something. And that image does so much work. There's just so much power within that image. It's telling a story ultimately. And I suppose from my time in Sky, I kind of took that on board. I learned how important images are and how they can, at a snapshot, at a glance, like really, really quickly, give people a lot of information. And so when I decided to start up a photography business, and I was thinking about what to do, and we're going back almost 10 years now, actually, 9.5 years. So this was very early day dating, really. Kind of Tinder had only been out about a year, I think,
Yeah,
maximum.
2012 it
So
came out, right? So
yeah, so it was 2013 when Hey Saturday came out. So dating was still very much in the early days, and people were still quite embarrassed and things like that. So no, there were no dating profile photographers at the time. It wasn't a thing at all, and in fact, people were very secretive about creating their profiles. People were embarrassed. They're embarrassed about being online, um, and so it was a different time then, really. Um, but I was kind of looking around. What am I going to do? Like, and everyone kept saying to me, "Oh, Saskia, your photography business. Are you going to be a wedding photographer?" Because I think that is probably what 90% or a big chunk of photographers do wedding photography. And I was kind of like, oh hell no, I'm not into weddings. It sounds incredibly stressful as a job, and actually, there's only a certain number of people who get married, so earnings aren't going to be that great commercially, perhaps, or unless you're like an amazing photographer. So I kind of but I think what that question did was made me look at what I do know, because I was kind of like, oh, that's not really me. No, that wouldn't work. So what is me then? And I realized that like my 9 years of online dating experience could actually come in handy, because I thought, well, I know all about online dating. I don't know about weddings, but I know about how to date. So and I kind of then remembered, hang on a minute, one of my big things about online dating was the fact that I spent a lot of my time looking at images of guys that were really, really poor and did them no favors whatsoever. And in fact, they didn't get any of my attention. But I think, I probably missed a lot of amazing guys because I was, not drawn to their profiles in any way whatsoever. I saw photos of well, a lot back then, a lot of the photos were like, because it was guys I was looking at were like guys in front of their webcam, like staring at the webcam quite seriously, trying to get their head in the frame. And, they kind of look like serial killers or, just very disturbed individuals. And then, the backdrop would be their unmade bed with a pile of dirty washing.
Oh yeah.
And you're kind of like, okay, really? You're not like thinking to yourself. I couldn't understand why they weren't going, maybe I should make the bed, or maybe I should tidy my clothes away, and I kind of realized that people don't think about their photos in any way when they're doing it for themselves. They do when they're looking at other people's photos. They can be very critical. We all are. We look at people's photos, we're critical, we're making snap judgments, we're swiping really fast. And yet those same people aren't giving themselves that same kind of judgment, or looking to see, are my photos representing me the best that they can? Are they telling people who I am? Are they showing me at my best? So I found that quite an interesting area. And I kind of thought, I had a look round and no one was doing dating photography. It wasn't a thing. And I thought, well, do you know what? I'm going to give it a go, because like I can see this huge potential in it. When you kind of marry the idea of having a powerful image with a dating profile, it's like ka-ching, you're going to get, the potential with that is, very powerful, very strong, very, you can be telling people a lot of information at a glance and attracting attention to your profile, and often quite easily. It could just be, for example, including the color red in your photo. So red is basically the most eye-catching color on the spectrum. So straight away, someone is looking at loads of photos and there's one that's got some red in it, their eye's drawn to it without them even thinking. Like you don't have to do anything, their eye is gone to that photo. So with kind of like, with my knowledge of these kinds of things that you could do, I was like, this is something I want to explore. I think there's something in it. And so I set up Hey Saturday. So yeah, back in 2013, and year one, it was London, it was me, I was doing all the shoots. It started off slowly, obviously, because nobody knew what it wasn't a thing. And I think those early people who came to me were like your early early adopters for technology, and who love like the latest Apple product. It was those kind of people. They were on it. They were like, yeah, this sounds like exactly what I want to do. I want to get ahead of the crowd. I want to showcase myself in a really interesting way. I want to have like amazing quality photos so that I stand out from everybody else. So we got those people for year one. And then I got an article in the Evening Standard in year two, and that was it. It just took off. And I took another London photographer on, Nicole, who's been with me ever since, and she's amazing. Shout out to Nicole. I've got, there are loads of amazing photographers work for Hey Saturday, so shout out to them all. And I kind of developed a way of capturing shoots, and developed the style of photography where basically we'd create a set of profile pictures for our client that would tell their story in essence at a glance and be, powerful kind of imagery, to help them share who they are, like in an authentic way, and showcase their, how they look and their vibe and all this. So and then I shared that with the photographers who came on board. So then, yeah, now we're in major cities in the UK, and we also expanded to New York and LA around 2015, I think, because a lot of the dating experts over there were like going, "Hey, you guys, how are you ahead of what we're doing? You need to be over here." So yeah, we expanded over there as well. So, and Hey Saturday's just taken off ever since because there are so many people online dating, and as more of our photos started appearing on the dating apps, people are starting to think, I think, people were starting to think, hang on a minute, maybe I should do more. And then of course now the dating experts talk about the importance of dating profile photos. The message is so clear now. But at the beginning, I was writing for, eHarmony and Match.com, and kind of blogging for these big apps and talking to them, and doing, and Guardian Soulmates, which was around back then. And I was on a podcast for Tinder. So I was talking to all these apps and sharing like what Hey Saturday's about. And then, yeah, kind of word just spread. And so more and more people started realizing the importance of it. And now, yeah, I think, well, I won't say it is completely accepted, but the message still hasn't fully got out to everybody who's on apps, because obviously new people join dating apps all the time who don't know anything about online dating. And if they haven't kind of had a look round to see what's going on in the dating world and what the best practice is, they're probably going to start creating their profile picture, like their profile on dating apps, without having done any figuring out of how to do that. And so, there are definitely still people out there who need help, but generally there is help out there now, and there's lots of other companies as well. So it's kind of quite a normal thing now. But yeah, definitely back when I started, it was kind of unheard of. I had to turn it into a thing, but I
You're a
was so
pioneer.
passionate about it. I was just like, I really think this can work.
Yeah.
And yeah.
You're a pioneer, though. And before we delve into the nitty gritty of the profile picture, I wanted to ask as well, where did the name come from, the Hey Saturday thing?
Well, that just came from, well, one, it is really hard to find a name for a business that has
Yeah.
not been taken. That's really cool. So it was a long process. I was kind of struggling, but for me, Saturday was kind of date night, and like dating and love was kind of very much centered around the weekend vibe, Saturday. So I just really like the idea of like, hey, Saturday, it's all about Saturday. Let's get you ready for some good Saturday loving ahead. So really,
I
that's
love
where
it.
it came from.
And now you have this dating app Thursday as well, and all of that. And it's quite a very cool way of doing it, though. I love it. I wonder if they were inspired by you by any chance, though. I wonder.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows, right? Who knows? But I wanted to ask specifically about the name because I just found it fascinating. But as a dating coach, my one of the key things I say to people is that, of course, we live in a headline culture. We live in a swipe culture now, and people's attention spans are generally very short. And it's not just about attention spans, though. It's about automation, because when you're swiping for a while on an app and stuff, if there's not enough time to be interrupted in that swiping, you may miss out. And I remember doing this when I was using Tinder back in 2015 or whatever. I would swipe and I'd see someone I like, but I've already swiped past them.
Mm,
And it's very easy to do. So you've got to do anything that you can to kind of get some kind of advantage. And I always say to people that the two most important things on a dating app is your profile picture and then your headline. And if you don't
yeah.
have those two sorted, you're going to struggle. But it's amazing how many pictures I see of, like you said, of people with their, clothes on their bed in the background. They're in socks. They're in their bathroom. Bathroom selfies look awful. Oh my God, bathroom selfies. Don't even get me started. But what I love specifically about your work, and this is what makes it stand out for me,
Mm,
is the use of color. Like, I've noticed that
mm,
every picture I've come across, apart from the specific black and white ones, but every picture is incredibly colorful. And I love that. I love your use of color. And again, this is something I don't think I've seen anywhere else. And I think that you mentioned it earlier that, you know, when you add a splash of color, you're going to stand out more. But I've noticed you seem to have all these beautiful locations kind of like handpicked ready. Like, have you been out there searching and scouting for all these places to do the pictures?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in pretty much all the cities that we are in, well, yeah, all of the cities we've been in, I have personally scouted all the locations, because that was a huge part, because your dating photos need to appeal emotionally but also visually. And a big part of the visual component of attracting people to your profile is the background and, of course, the color. So yeah, Hey Saturday, like for example, if you look at London, there's probably about, I don't know, 8 locations that we work in. We don't just shoot anywhere, um, because those are locations I've been to, and within our ideal location, you would have, within a short walking space, a lot of variety. So you might have some greenery, because that's important to some people, but you might have some colorful street art, you might have some cute cafes, you might have some boutique shops. So yeah, that is a huge part of our brand, and it was really, that kind of look came out of my vision, I think, and my experience of working with Sky and understanding, and also being a photographer and a visual artist, understanding how color works and how composition works. So by coming to a professional photographer, there's a whole load of work going on in the background, really, that the client doesn't need to be aware of, because we're kind of doing that. And the difference, it can make a huge difference and add a lot of impact to a photo. So yeah, I would say, and color is so important, because as I mentioned earlier about like the color red, some colors are just off the spectrum of grabbing attention. And if you just, and the thing about red as well, I'm going to go on about that color, but actually red is the color of love, passion, danger,
Mm.
lots of things. And what it does is it actually makes people's hearts beat faster when you look at the color red, which is imitating how you feel when you kind of
Mm.
fancy someone or falling in love with someone. So there's more going on within our photos than just someone looking at it. So yeah, when you use the color red, you're potentially making their heartbeats beat go faster, and they start to get this feeling of, oh, I'm feeling something here. And that's what you want. You want people to like engage with your images and feel. And so yeah, there is a lot of power in color, and that's just another of the elements that we might use to help tell people's story and grab attention as well. And I think, like you said earlier, we're in this kind of headline age, which isn't great, the kind of clickbait stuff. So what we're trying to do, we want to grab attention, but for the right reasons, not
Mm.
because you're in a bikini on the high street or something. Like,
Yeah.
that's not great, unless that's your personality and who you are. But
Yeah, unless you're a model, that's fine. But
unless you're a
obviously,
model, and that might
if
be
you look like
something how
me,
you
you
live
weren't
your
going to
life.
be in a bikini on the high street. I'm
Yeah,
telling you.
no. So so yeah, it's we want to keep our photos authentic, because that's so important. Like, I think it was Match.com whose research said, like, the biggest reason people don't get second dates is because they don't look anything like their profile pictures.
Mm,
So
yeah.
it's so important that people look like their photos, and that's a whole other thing that's around kind of trust, establishing trust early on. But yeah, I've forgotten what I was going to say now.
That's all right. I had a question actually, but
Yeah, good.
Saskia, I'm not photogenic. What can I do?
Yeah, so we get that question a lot. The way I answer that is, if you have never worked with someone who knows their way around a camera, then we don't know if you're photogenic or not. Okay. If you've like only had your photos taken by friends, and they always upload the photo that makes them look good but makes you look like a horror, those photos,
Yep.
and you get those posted all over social media, then obviously you're going to think, oh my god, I look awful in photos. But the reality is, group shots are a nightmare, because someone always looks rubbish in a group shot, and if someone else is posting it, they're not looking to see what you look like. So but yeah, I would say that the only time I would recognize that someone might be right about that if they don't like what they look like, is if they've had professional photos and every single photo they've ever seen of themselves by professionals or anyone else, and they don't like what they look like, then probably there's nothing we can do. Some people, some people just have, issues about themselves, and that's a self-love thing. That's not something we can do for you. I'm pretty sure you would look amazing in photos, but if you never could see that about yourself, then I can't do anything about that. But if someone's just never had a good photo taken, and then they come to us and we do a nice shoot, and they can go, actually, I look quite good in these, then I think that there's a huge difference between good, working with a professional and just getting mates taking it. And so unless you've had a pro photo shoot, you don't really know how, if you're photogenic or not. So
Yeah.
but I think, we see the beauty in anyone, because that is the beauty of our job. We get to work with so many different people, and they come with their personalities and their vibes, and it's a lovely experience. And all our photographers just like love connecting with people and love bringing out the best side in people. That is a huge part of the job, and that's a huge part of what makes a Hey Saturday photographer. All our photographers are obviously great at portrait photography, but there's hundreds of people out there that are great at portrait photography, but they have to have this magic ingredient of being able to connect with someone on a level that makes them feel comfortable, the client, and brings out their fun side, their happy side, their chilled side, that gets them to reveal elements of their real personality, and kind of moves them through like nervousness and like discomfort into a place of, yeah, I don't actually care about those people looking at me or whatever their hang up is, and I'm actually really enjoying this, and oh my god, like this photographer is following me around, I quite like this. We kind of take them on this journey, and then by the end of it, I would say about 85% at least will come back and go, oh my god, I was expecting a nightmare, I was dreading it, I hate having my photo taken, blah blah blah, but actually I just had the most fun. That was actually a really good time, and I'm loving what I'm seeing, the photos. I'm so excited to go on to the next stage of my like dating journey.
We hear that same line at our dating events as well. Like, before they come, they're like, oh, I'm really nervous, I'm really scared. But 5 minutes in, they're like, I don't know what I was worried about. That was actually pretty harmless.
That's the thing. I think the fear of things is always worse than actually doing them. So if you can get over that initial like, oh my god, I don't want to do this, and then you're doing it, you just get into it. You've got to, you kind of got no choice. But I think like when we do get a lot of clients who express nerves beforehand, and what I always say to them is, this is something that's really important to you. Like finding your forever person is like one of your major goals. And if you put that versus, I don't know, 60 minutes of your life, like in front of a camera, like potentially with people on the street who might see, it's really like, what's more important here? Like, are you going to let that 60-minute experience stop you finding, or stop you making the best impression you can to help find you your forever person? And when people look at it that way, they're like, yeah, no, I am totally motivated to do this, because I want to give myself the best opportunity I can.
Yeah, I remember my first experience of this or something similar was I think this picture was from probably when I first joined Tinder, but I was at my sister-in-law's barn dance birthday party, and I think they had a photographer there, and I remember I was wearing like a trilby hat, like I felt like Indiana Jones, right? So one of the photographers snapped a picture of me, and it was quite nice, and I don't find my own pictures that appealing, but I saw that one, I was like, I'm not looking too bad, even if I do say so myself. So that became one of my first pictures that I ever used on dating apps. And the tagline, my headline was something like, it was like, I don't know, it was something really stupid, but it involved whipping. But let's just put it that way. Right? Ladies, don't make me get my whip out. No, it wasn't something. It wasn't something crude, but it was just something a bit fun, and it was the tagline. And so I used this picture, and it did pretty well. Yeah, it did pretty well.
I was going to say, I bet that got a lot of traction.
It did. It really did as well. And like women were like, "Oh, you do, you do look a little bit like will you be my Harrison Ford and like my Indiana Jones?"
Yeah.
some
Brilliant.
really silly stuff I got, but it was brilliant. And that was the first experience I got of seeing firsthand the difference a picture could make. I mean, phone
Absolutely.
technology back then wasn't as good as it is now. I mean,
Mm,
obviously we have, I've got an iPhone 13 and the camera on it is just phenomenal, right? But not everyone doesn't seem to have the skill or has never really taken the time to learn the skill of taking a good selfie and not making it look like it's you taking a picture of yourself. And I think that in itself is quite a bit of an art form. Um,
yeah.
but again, people might ask, okay, you're not available in my area, Saskia. What advice could you give me until you are available of how I can take a better picture for my dating profile?
Yeah. So I think the most important thing you want to do is create a set of profile photos. So if you think about it, a really good selfie, yeah, you can take a good selfie on one of the latest iPhones, but that's quite limited. There's not a lot of information within that, but it could be a good headshot potentially, like the first primary shot. But then what's the rest of the photos going to look like? So what how we like to kind of frame it is that your photos should tell it, like there should be a series of photos, 4 or 5, that when put together tell people a bit of a narrative about who you are. And so we think of our profile pictures as a set, like you're going to create this set. So how can you do that at home? So I would always say it needs to start with a bit of self-reflection, because really what this question is, what you want to do is figure out like what your story is and how visually you're going to share that. So that's quite tricky, but I can kind of give you an example using me, like as an example, so you can see what I mean. But I would always say start with some questions like, what matters to you right now? Kind of write that down and start answering it. What's important to you? What makes you stand out from other people? That's another hugely important thing, because on dating apps, you need to stand out. It's not the place to fit in. It's the place where you need to tell people what makes you different to everyone else on here, what makes you special, what's your secret sauce, or what's your secret power. And maybe you want to think about, well, what brings me joy? Because you want your photos to make people feel good when they look at them. That's really important, how they feel. So yeah, basically start by like writing a list or doing a mind map, because it's really important that you figure out like what your photo is going to say. You're not just going to go and take a load of photos willy-nilly and then post them, because that is a missed opportunity. um, Especially if you're doing it on your own, you need to be a bit more careful, because otherwise it could just end up bog standard photos. So for me, for example, I might write that I am into I'm getting into a lot of new things actually. I'm getting into meditation and journaling and forest bathing. I'm moving more on a spiritual path at the moment. Whereas if you'd spoken to me about this pre-COVID spirituality, and that wouldn't have been a thing. So you can see how like it's important where you are right now, and representing that is really important. So pre-COVID, I was definitely very focused on this. I'm a strong businesswoman. That's who I am. And then I remember my therapist saying, "So what do you do for fun, Saskia?" And I was like, "Well, my job, obviously. Is there anything else that's more fun?" But actually, that got me thinking, and I realized I needed to bring more fun into my life. So I've changed a lot, or bring more joy into my life. So I've changed. So yeah, the things that bring me joy now are dance and journaling and forest bathing, and so, but I still like boxing as well, and I'm obviously a photographer, but I also paint now, and I do drawing on an iPad. So for me, there's a lot of if I wrote that all down and looked at it visually with like my visual head on, there's actually quite a lot in there that I could bring out that would be quite visually interesting. So it's always important when we're creating your list or your mind map to think not just bringing things like, I value my honesty or something, because that's quite hard to do. But
Mm.
if you do value your honesty, make sure you look like you do right now in your profile pictures, because if you don't, then your honesty kind of core value is completely null and void. So you do need to keep your values in your head when you're doing this, for sure. But yeah, so I might have visually, I would be thinking, okay, boxing, that's a really visual one. So I might have photos of me wrapping my hands with my boxing wraps. I might have me putting my boxing gloves on, me sparring a little bit. Um, So that would be like, that could be one photo. So my friend with their iPhone snapping at me doing that. Experiment, play around, yeah, try different things out, try different backgrounds out. Don't just stick with one background. The most important thing is the light. Make sure you're facing the light. So when I'm facing the light at the moment, so you can see even lighting all across my face. That is the most flattering. If I turn my laptop that way, then lighting would only be on one side of my face. It's less flattering. So always face the light source. Um, and then yeah, experiment, have fun, etc. So then I might have a photo of me like meditating in nature, in next to a tree or something, because that represents my more spiritual side. I might have me painting because that's very visual, and people are going to be interested in what I'm doing. So it's really thinking about yeah, how you can tell people who you are at a glance. And then obviously there's the important stuff, like I want people to know how I'd look on a hot first date. Very important. So I would figure out what my hot first date outfit is, find a nice background. Maybe it's something quite simple, maybe a plain wall or a colorful wall, depending on what my outfit is. If I've got lots of color in my outfit, I'd choose a plain wall. If I had a black dress, I'd choose a colorful wall, for example. And yeah, I would show off what I look like on when I'm going on a hot first date. That is a really important photo to include, because you want people, well, for one, you want people to know exactly what you're going to look like when you show up. And so when you've done that, people will be straight away, they'll trust you. They'll be like, oh, she looks just like I knew she was going to look. Fantastic. So yeah, so you've got this set of photos. You need like your primary shot, so a really good headshot. You need the full body shot. So it could be you just showing off one of your outfits potentially. Or it could be you with a tennis racket if you're into tennis, or holding your yoga mat. Um, and yeah, and then you need like lots of mid shots with lots of color and interesting things like that. So yeah, and you need about 4 or 5 good photos. So you write that down, use your answers as your framework, and go out and start experimenting with different photos, and having fun with it. And you can get very good shots on an iPhone, absolutely. So if that is all you have, but it's really important to be thinking about all these different elements, about how you can tell people who you are at a glance, and showing them what kind of person you are. If you're into spirituality, that's going to be a really important a part of who you are, and you'll want to attract people who are interested in that, not people who are turned off by that. So show that, and think about how to show that. So yeah.
I was because I was scrolling through the website earlier, and I was looking at
Yeah,
some of the pictures on the portfolio section. By the way, I
yeah,
will include all the links if anyone's wondering. I will include all the links on the podcast and later on down here as well. But there's some brilliant pictures on there as well. Like, and I just think it is so creative as well. Like you mentioned, you've got people in their element, whether it's with a tennis racket, the running gear as well. I saw someone in the running gear. I saw someone with their dog, which is another great one to do as well if you want to
yes,
attract a
yeah,
dog lover, right? And
yeah.
the guy with the wooden sword as well. I love that one.
Oh, totally. That's kind of a talking point photo as well, that
It
one, which
is,
is also
yeah.
very important. And
I
sporty, can I just rewind to sporty
yeah.
photos?
Oh
They
yeah.
attract 75% more attention than any other photo on dating apps.
Oh
So
really?
if you're into sport in any way whatsoever, you need to like get on that. And that's one of the major things that we encourage our clients. Because if you think about it, everyone's looking for healthy people who care about what they look like and are invested. It says that you care about yourself and that you think you matter and you value yourself. So sporty people are very attractive on dating apps. So it's if you're into tennis, yoga, running, cycling, volleyball, whatever, basketball, we have it all. Think about how can I show that off to people. Or it might be dance. We've had people dancing, you know and actually getting into your flow state. I'm sure your clients know all about flow, but that is so good. That's when you are doing something that you love, to the point where you kind of forget about you forget about what's going on outside of you, and you're just so into what you're doing. And when someone's in that state, they look amazing. They're engaged, they're happy, they're glowing. So we quite often will try and get clients into that kind of flow state, like get them, even it could, if they're like into like designing on their iPad, just the act of picking up your iPad and your pen will partly put you into flow, because you'll be like, this is something I do when I'm really happy, I feel comfortable, I feel confident. And so they don't even have to go fully into designing, obviously, but just the act of picking it up and looking at, starting to do something, it can transform their photos totally. So
Yeah.
those kinds of things, or if it's yoga, when someone starts doing a yoga headstand, I mean, we've had it all. I mean, that's fantastic. Obviously, some people are more comfortable just kind of carrying their yoga mat, and that would be their shot. But other people will be like, hell, I can do a headstand and I'm going to do it. And that will transform their photo. It will transform their dating experience, because they're going to get so much interest about that photo. So yeah, the talking point photos are a very important one as well. So out of your 4 or 5 shots, if you have a talking point photo, you mentioned the guy with the wooden sword. I think it's some kind of Japanese martial art,
Yeah.
I want to say, or it's a martial art. So he's got this like sword. It's made out of wood, so it's not dangerous, and it just looks so cool, that photo. I love
Oh
it
yeah.
so much.
That
And
stands out for me.
I mean, exactly. It's kind of a standout shot, and you can imagine he probably gets a ton of people asking him like, "What the heck is going on here?" And I think that's the big thing as well. The importance of having a good talking point photo is that so many people don't know how to connect with you online. They don't know what to say. Like, hey with 5 Ys is so like overdone, and if you can give them something on a plate, like a really interesting photo where they can just go, oh my God, what are you doing in that photo? I'm so interested, I can't figure it out. Then that's great. You've given them a reason to connect with you. And you've made it easy for them. And that's half the battle, to be honest. Like, if they don't have to think of something witty to start writing to you,
Yeah.
but they could just pick up on something in one of your photos, amazing. Like,
Do you know, I say this to people as well, exactly what you said about profile pictures creating a narrative. Like, you know how some people on their dating profile will just list things out. They'll just list themselves. Yeah, I'm into
yes,
this,
yeah,
this, and this. And I'm like, God's sake, don't do that. Tell a
yeah,
story. Share
yeah,
one story and like leave it on a cliffhanger. What a way to get
yes,
someone to come and message you and say, I must know what happened, type of thing, right? And if you
exactly.
yeah, and everyone out there's probably thinking, "Well, I don't know of anything." I guarantee everyone's got something. Some people
Yeah.
are better storytellers than others, and that's fine. But everyone has the capacity to tell stories, and tell something like, or even just ask me about the time I was in Morocco, and
Mm,
I fell off a pier. I don't know. It could be anything.
yeah.
That didn't happen to me, by the way. My stuff was more embarrassing. But like I just scroll through these pictures and I just want to sit here looking at them. They're so cool. But what really gets me though as well, the first time I went on your website, someone told me about Hey Saturday. I went on and I looked at the prices and I was shocked because I was expecting way more, like a lot more. So I'm surprised at how cheap this is. And I think for what this is, it's more than a bargain. So, for anyone
Mm.
out there who's thinking, I can't afford it, you can. You definitely can.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I wanted to make it affordable for as many people as possible, because you know it shouldn't be something that's just for the elite. It should be something for everybody. So I did try to keep the prices down as much as I can, while giving people a really amazing experience. And it's an opportunity for people to really, we can't make our clients do the things that you're seeing
Mm.
on our website, but we give them the tools and we're there supporting them, and we're like, come on, you can do this. Like embrace this experience, and the more you embrace this experience, the better your dating will be, because I think going through the whole process of preparing for your dating photo shoot and then going on it and then getting your photos, it takes you on this journey from like, maybe like you're not very sure, you're not feeling very confident about this dating thing, and then suddenly you go on this journey and you come out the other side with these like really fun photos that make you look happy and chilled and amazing and good at sport or whatever. And people come out and they go on dating apps feeling on fire. They feel like, yeah, this is an adventure. Like, we call our photo shoots adventures, because it, like, the process of doing a photo shoot isn't like a formal portrait shoot where you dress and you stand formally and you kind of pose. We take them on an adventure. Let's go and explore. How can we get you to reveal elements of your personality? Yeah, get down, do a yoga pose. Let's try that. It's an adventure. And that kind of mentality can transform even your most staid person. They'll be like, oh my God, this isn't something I'm used to doing, but I'm going to go with this. And actually, I'm going to take this spirit of adventure into my online when I'm on the apps. And I think that's so important because, dating is basically getting out there and experimenting and finding out what you like and what you don't like. And, it should be fun. When it stops being fun, have a break. But it should be a fun experience, because if you're not having fun, you're probably not going to connect with someone on a real level. So we're trying to start the fun process, I suppose.
Well,
Make
that's
it
my
seem like
tagline. I tell people dating should be fun, not formal. It's not meant to be. It's supposed to be
mm,
fun. And I could imagine as well. I have this vision in my head of people like who've got these pictures done, and I can almost imagine them almost excited to get on that date because they're kind of like, I know I'm going to be asked about these pictures, and they're going to want to like tell the story kind of thing. So I could imagine this being a real sort of way for people to open up, just being quizzed about these pictures, like and someone saying, oh, your picture looked really nice, it really stood out for me, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to match with you. But
mm,
I think you and I probably cannot emphasize enough just how paramount it is to have a good profile picture. Look, don't get me wrong, I think whether it will be, I'm sure it's probably accessible for most people, but if not, you can still make the effort to do a good profile picture, and it's going to make all the difference in your dating journey. But make the time, get this done. In fact, Saskia, I'm going to ask you right now publicly so I can hold you to it. As a dating coach who's married, can I still go on one of these photo shoots and get it? Is that okay?
yes, you can, of course. I
Yay!
don't know what your wife would say, but
They won't be
we
used to dating.
we actually have a free ebook on the website. There's a sign up at the bottom of the website, and you can get a free ebook that is exactly for people who can't get to a shoot or afford a shoot, or whatever, for whatever reason, and it's kind of giving you tips on how to do that at home. So I've covered some of it, but there is an ebook on there if you want to
Brilliant.
get the fuller version, and help that inspire you to tell your story on visually. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Saskia, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast. As a business owner, I understand how busy things can be, and I really appreciate you take the time out. So before we head off, two questions. Penultimate one, of course, where can people book in a shoot? Where do they need to go?
So our website is heysaturday.co. Just head on there, take a look at the photos. If you like what you see and you feel it's your vibe, you just go to the booking page and you can see exactly where our photo shoots are happening and on what dates, and you can book straight in right then and there. And I can offer a 10% discount as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. And out of all the pictures you've taken, of all the people, the subjects you've done, is there any one particular that's been your absolute personal favorite?
Well, I have loved all of them. I think probably the standout is that I did a photo shoot with Martin Parr, the UK photographer. He's like
Oh
one
yeah.
of our best photographers in the world, but also in the UK. And he's like the chair of Magnum, I think. Anyway, he he contacted me and said, I want to book a dating photo shoot. And he did say, I do have a wife, but I want to try out your shoot. And so, and I want to do it for an exhibition I'm having. So I was kind of very nervous, but I did his photo shoot. And I was in his exhibition at the National Portrait Gallery and also in his book. And so
Beautiful.
that was good fun, but it was also very scary. But
Yeah.
it was definitely a standout for me. But he wasn't actually single, so it wasn't a true one.
A
But
few
I
a
think
few would sneak through the cracks. We'll do anything to sneak through the cracks.
yeah, he did used to joke in his lecture series that if he split up with his wife, this would be the photo he'd use. But I don't think he will now.
Well, I'm definitely not going to split up with my wife, but I would love some pictures with my. I think if I'm booking in a shoot, which I'm definitely going to do, I'm bringing my little doggy as well, and he is the cutest.
Ah, that's a good
I've
idea.
got to show you a picture before I go, because like he will be the photogenic one of the thing. Like he'll make the picture, but I need something. I need anything just to make the pictures a little bit. Here's my dog. Are you ready to melt?
Yeah. Oh,
Look at
oh
that
yes,
smile.
yeah. That is a very good example of a dating doggy profile picture. Very nice one.
Butter would
But
melt in his mouth, I tell you.
oh,
Well,
yeah,
listen,
dogs are always good in
oh
profile
yeah,
pictures.
definitely.
We
Saskia, I
get a
just want
lot of
to say
those.
thank you again for coming on. It's been a pleasure having you on. And where can people follow you on social media? Of course, last question as well. Where can they follow you?
Mm. I am on Instagram at heysaturday.co. So
Superb. Well,
nice and simple.
it's been a pleasure, and I hope we can work together more in the future. And it's just been
Look
lovely
forward
having
to it.
you on. It's lovely hearing your story as well, hearing the background and how this crazy journey began. And yeah, looking forward to working with you more. So thank you again.
Okay, thank you for having me. It's been really
Oh,
nice.
you're welcome. Well, stay on with
Good
me.
fun.
For everyone else out there, you've been listening to the Feel Inspired podcast, episode 59, with the lovely Saskia Nelson. And thank you for joining me as well. I'll see everyone on the next episode, and have a wonderful week. Ciao for now.